We're calling this Galvanized Metal Part 2.
And we have even more ways of finishing galvanized metal.
Wait till you see what we've got.
Come play with us.
Now these are the pieces that we're going to focus on today. So
great, we've got this beautiful big compass rose.
12 inches wide.
12 inches.
And it has a hanger on the back of it. We're going to start with the flower, and then we'll bring in the love and the welcome and the compass a little bit later.
Okay.
So the flower has all of these petals. Now it is 3D. You can see the bump in the middle in each of the petals, right. But you can also lift these petals up. So that's really kind of neat.
We're going to show you that. Right. I like that. There are 8 petals on each one of the flowers, so you get 16 total.
Right.
That's a fun thing. I love that bump in the middle. I do like that each one of these has that little hanger on. Well, wait a minute.
The words don't.
The words don't have the little hangers, but these two do, the compass and the flower.
And these are from Hampton Art. So we're going to do our first technique. And of course, the techniques are interchangeable.
Sure.
Now, the webisode that we showed you early in the year, we used alcohol inks. You could also use re-inkers. But now we're going to do some different things. We're going to start with this shabby chic look.
This shabby chic, I love that. And it's with the patina inks, which are a little bit more like paint because they're a little thicker. They're going to give you more a paint-like look. And then this was sanded off after. And I just love this technique. I think it's kind of a fun way to make something just a little bit weathered. So we started by painting these just with a paintbrush, those petals in particular with the patina ink, just one of them with the blue. And then you just take your little sanding block and spend some time just sanding those off. And you want to get it really off of the edges, however much you want.
Yeah.
You can stop right there, or you can move on, get a little bit more off of there. But it's going to get that nice weathered look. After you've done that, then I'm going to bring in my craft sheet because I want to put a little bit of those cosmic shimmer gilding flakes out on the edges. This is sunlight speckle, so it's got kind of a little silver, a little gold in there. Really easy to do. We're going to start with the flitter glue. Now this, I'm just going to make a little puddle of it here, just get a little bit of that out. I don't need much, and I'm going to use a sponge to apply that just to the edges. Now I'm only going on the edges of the painted and of the outer, just out on the edges. That's all that's needed, just a little bit of glue there. That's really all that's necessary to add those flakes on there. And they come in all of these little broken pieces. If you want to see some real detailed classes basically on these, we've done a lot of webisodes where we're showing the gilding flakes, and so definitely look that up on our webisodes.
Gilding flakes and mega flakes are 2 brand names, and they come from England. And the flitter glue is just perfect.
Right, so I've attached it just on the edges, and now I'm using another sponge just to remove them. I'm thinking that when I do this, I might actually sort of pick up the gold and make sure that the gold is hitting those edges, because you can see that just a little bit better on that flower, but you see that extra gilding, and it's so simple to do. One more step is I want to show you there's actually something different on the center. You could do the gilding flakes on the center, but Lene decided to use the metallic effects. These are the mica powders.
Right.
So this one is goldfinch, so you can see it a little better like that. She did the same thing with the glue. She took the flitter glue and she applied that just to the center. She did a pretty good job of getting that just on the center. I'm doing it pretty quickly, so probably not quite as good a job. And then take a paintbrush and just apply those right to the center. It's going to stick right to that glue, and it's going to get this beautiful golden hue on the center of that.
Go ahead
Real
and touch
simple to do.
Touch the tips also, because
I
since
don't know
you
if
had
the glue's still there.
Okay.
It would do on the edge, but I think the glue is sort of gonna. Yeah, you could do that on the edge of that as well.
So those are the bits and pieces. Give it a little bit more time, and you can end up with an item like this. And as you can see, all of these are lifted, so you can make it even more dimensional. And that works beautifully. Okay, so that's one idea.
Right.
Now we're going to move over to our love. And these do not have a hanger, but you can see with the open areas, it's going to be pretty easy to put a couple of nails in to hang it.
Right.
And with this, one thing I do want to tell you is that the manufacturer recommends wiping these down with vinegar to begin with.
Or rubbing alcohol.
Or rubbing alcohol.
Both of those work, but that is a good idea. It makes things stick on there, there quite a bit better.
Okay, now in this one we have a finished, and this is done also with the gilding flakes.
Right.
In this case it's Persian Dawn, and Persian Dawn has not as light a finished color as the Sunlight Speckle.
Right, it's got a little bit more of the brassiness in there.
There's some copper in there, and done exactly the same way as you just demonstrated.
Take your sponge with the glue on it and just pounce it all over this. And so that it doesn't dry all at the same time, I might do it a little bit at a time. And then add your flakes, do a little bit of rubbing, and then rub them off again with that sponge, and there you have it. It's done.
And you get this all over look so very easily. And
really
as you can see, we elected to use ribbons on these. Okay, now we're going to head into Welcome.
Okay.
And Welcome begins like this. And in this case, it's going to end like that. And boy, look at those colors.
It is. It's very colorful, and it's also shimmery. And you're going to be surprised at how very little color was actually added to that. So I actually have one of the other words, because I had one laying around. I had the family one.
You had family laying around,
I had family laying around. Yeah, it's summer. They're probably laying around right now. So not doing schoolwork. Anyway, this is first colored with Spectrum Noir pens, and this is from one of the new sets. We have a large set of Nature Spectrum Noir pens, and I think I better bring in my craft sheet so I don't get this all over the table. And Debbie suggested for this technique you want to do just a little bit at a time. You don't want to do the whole thing all at once. You color these, which I did, but I want to sort of get that wet again. You just sort of color them with that ink. Spectrum Noir is an ink-based, alcohol-based. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Pen, and then I've got rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. Just a little bit of a spritz of that on there. You can see how that affects that right away. It sort of changes the look. And then we've got the Kaleidoscope embossing powder. Mm-hmm. My words are failing me.
I'll fill in for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And normally I would put a paper on here. I'm just going to do this quick. You just sprinkle this, right? So you just sprinkle this on there. It's going to stick on there because it's still a little bit wet. You do sort of shake it off a little bit, and then you're going to set it with the heat gun. And once you do, you get the result that you see here. And if you just do it a little bit at a time, you heat it up. When you heat it, be very careful. It's going to heat the entire piece of that metal. So you might want to hold it with a hot pad or tweezers, something like that.
It's going to get hot. Now this is, as you said, the Kaleidoscope embossing powder is going to give all of those colors, and just really, really
it's amazing that it changes it in that way. It looks like there's more than one color used on there, but it's really just one pen.
Now, I think of the Welcome, and I can really see it at Christmas time, putting it and nestling it into an evergreen wreath. I just think it would be so pretty. You may not want to have the pink color, but you might want to also.
It is kind of fun adding these words to other galvanized metal pieces. You could maybe put the Welcome at the bottom of a compass like so, or you could add it to the weather vane or something like that. There's a couple of different ways of using that.
And speaking of the compass, that was clever. This is what Gail did to the compass, and this is stunning. I think it's beautiful. It is, because it is a 12-inch piece, it is substantial on its own.
Right.
It also has the 3D in the center. Let me just show you the naked one.
It's a raised piece.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can see that. And the rest of it has been stamped out. As I said, this has a hook on the back. And why don't you walk through what you did?
Well, we started with this aged turquoise paint system, naturally aged paint system. This is precious stone, it says, but you can see that it gives that turquoise look. But I also backed it with suede, and that's why it's so nice and powerful, that pop of black. And you can just, I use double-sided tape to stick that on the back of it. I would go ahead and trace this, cut out that piece and stick it on the back. But before I stick that in place, I want to get this painting done. So I've got my compass, I've got a nice big craft sheet, and this takes several stages doing this system. There are actually 4 containers. I used 3. The first one is going to be true turquoise. You want to make sure that you shake it up really well, and then you're going to just start spritzing. And you're going to sort of spritz it randomly. I didn't do everything, I didn't completely cover it, and I'm just going to work on the center here. And then I work with what's called icicle glaze, and this one doesn't have a spritzer on it, so I'm going to apply it randomly with a paintbrush. And all of this is written, first of all, in the gallery, but it also talks about it in the instructions that come with that set. And you just sort of start adding it. I'm going to try to clean my brush off a little bit before I put it in there, or you might be able to pour this into something else to use.
Normally have let that dry?
Nope.
You do it wet?
No,
okay.
You do it wet, and it does tell you that in the instructions. They want it to sort of blend into it, so you're getting this different look. You're getting the icicle around, and I think it's kind of hard to see just with what we're doing here, but it does change the look. It adds this. It adds a different sort of a frost there. And then you end with the turquoise blue. And this is a much paler look, a little bit more turquoise. But see, you get a little bit more greens in there. And you just do that, and then you let it dry completely. And after it was completely dry, I went in with a sponge, and I used white acrylic paint and just sort of dabbed it. But we do have shimmer paint in white that would work too, just a little bit here and there.
Actually, that'd be pretty.
Right, don't cover it, just add a little bit of highlights with it.
And that's kind of the hard thing is, I mean, the beautiful look you have, yeah, is to stop. The beautiful look is that it isn't solid, but it does have this variation through it, and so you're able to do it with that whole process. Right. Now, you could also, again, play with the alcohol inks, or some of the other techniques that we've shown you.
Sure.
You finish it off with the white flowers. These are the white wildflowers. And the buttons.
Just add some twine, some buttons, just a little bit of ribbon treatment, and that is just a gorgeous look, just like that.
And a small little one up here with just jute.
If I had not added the suede and the ribbons, this could go outside, and it's sealed enough. That paint's not going to come off with water, so it would weather the elements a little bit. You know, I wouldn't leave it out all year long. It might get, you know, kind of disheveled after a while. But with the flowers, etc., you can put that on the inside.
Yes, so you've got more ways to use galvanized metal and bring it into your home or leave it outside, whatever you want to do.
And it's absolutely beautiful.
Yes.